Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Tonight, episode 67. And we're going to be talking a little bit about trail journals. But it's kind of going to be a little bit of a new segment. And seeing this is kind of your brainchild, Ben. I'm just kind of along for the ride. I really think it's a great idea, and I think everybody else will too. But why don't you explain a little bit about what this is going to be? And then we'll jump into the first part of it.
Yeah, so I mean, full full visibility here. I stole this idea from another guy. He does watch videos. But I've seen a lot of stuff like the subscription boxes lately. There's one that somebody put on one of the Bushcraft things, and it was a Canadian company, which was actually a nice change, where you can go, you sign up, and you pay 25, 50, 75, 100, $150, depending on the package you want. And then you get a goodie bag of goods that you may or may not want at the end of every month. And I really think it's an interesting idea. It's a good idea. I've looked at a bunch of them over the years, and I've never actually signed up for them. And when I go back and thinking about it, I've collected so much gear over the years that I'd probably end up with a lot of gear I already have, or I have equivalents, better or worse versions. And it's like, I don't know if I want to. I have a pile of stuff I need to get rid of now, not collect more stuff. But this watch guy, he actually had a program where he comes on and he talks about, and like I said, this was watches, but he talks about like a certain type of watch or a certain type of gear, and he gives you three price ranges of what he suggests would be good in that price range, and then you can make your decision if you go out and buy it or if you don't. So we're going to propose something very similar here, and the first topic we're going to use is field journals. It's not one of the survival gear pieces, but it's something that's nice to have, and it really does change what your trip's like. So me and Robert, we talked earlier, and we come up with some ideas. We don't really have the pricing structure 100% yet, but we have some ideas, different types of levels and different types of style, I guess would
Yeah,
be
I
the
was going to
word.
say, I hesitate to say quality because I think the quality of each one for its price point is actually pretty good with the ones we picked. Styles is more accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. So all of these would do a really good job. Each one would appeal to a different type of person. And we've come up with some ideas. We're going to talk a bit more about this before we fully roll it out. But this is the first try of how we will label these. But we have like probably your basic level. And that's nothing to say bad about basic, but it's the bare bones. And then we're going to have different levels, and each level will give you sort of different abilities or usefulness, but usually it'll come with its additional cost. And is that something that you're even into? So that's what we're going to go with. So let's start off. Field journals in general. What are they good for? Why would you want one? And really, it's a personal thing. But when you're out there, it means you're going to have a piece of paper, something that you can write down your thoughts, your feelings, what you've seen, record, what happened. Some people, it may be as little as time, date, weather, distance travel, whatever you want. You can draw pictures on them. But the beauty is when you come back to it years later, you'll have a record of places you've gone, things you did, what happened. It'll make it easier to remember. And it's just a really nice thing. And I think it's been done. I've heard of field journals from hundreds of years back where people actually have sold old people's journals of when they were exploring and looking at things and doing things. So they have a value to some people, I guess. It's something you can pass down to your kids. Maybe they'd be interested in it. Just it depends on the person, on the level of detail you put into it. But it's something for you. Neither me nor Robert presently are doing it, but we've both talked, and I know we've talked about it even in the past. It's something we want to do. It's something we think we should do. We feel it will really add to our own experiences when we go out. So want to get into sort of like our baseline field
Um,
journal?
I just want to add one little point, and it's the
Yeah.
only real point that I have that you didn't actually tap on, was
Right.
you're going to get the question, why a field journal when everybody has cell phones and take pictures and stuff like that? And yes, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but if you have a little documentation to go with that picture, it's now worth so much more. And that's the idea, like Ben kind of said there. The trail journal or field journal or whatever you want to call it, it's a real personal touch to something that would otherwise lack that personal touch. Is the best way I could explain that in my own opinion, I guess. A picture is great. Like, you take the picture, it's a snapshot of what's going on around you, but then you can give that picture some depth with this field journal. And not all the time is your camera going to be there and ready. I mean, how often were you and I out and my camera or my cell phone was dead? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the journal's always there, and I mean, it doesn't rely on power, it doesn't rely on solar, it doesn't rely on anything except you, your own imagination, and some sort of writing utensil. So it's just another way of going about it to add more depth and character to your trips. Um,
And,
Go ahead.
and I think you really hit on it. Is there's something impersonal about the cell phone? Like electronically, it's fine, I guess. But when you've taken the time to write down, and you're already in the woods, it's all about slowing down and enjoying what's around you. Taking that time to write it down on a piece of paper, I think it makes all the difference in the world than just snapping a picture. It's forcing yourself to slow down, think about what you're doing, and it just adds to the whole experience. It's going to change the experience. I have done these type of journals in the past. Um, the best example I can think of is we had a cabin in Newfoundland, and every time we went to visit the cabin, the rule was you had to write in a journal before you left. Didn't matter what you put in, but you had to write something. And it was really cool because years later we went back and we read through those journals, and some of the entries were hilarious, some were sad, some were funny, some were happy, and it really brought back those moments. So I think this would work very much the same for the trail. You go back and look at the pictures. Does that bring something to you? Yes, it definitely brings emotions and stuff out, but it's not the same. Um,
A
it's
journal
a
gives
different,
context. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And I guess that's the ultimate thing. If you take a picture, for instance, the picture we took from the first outing we had together, the waterfall. If
yeah.
somebody was just to see that picture all on its own, they'd be like, "Oh, that's a neat waterfall." But if we had written a little story that went that, like, "Oh, hey, first time Robert and Ben were out for the Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures at this waterfall," etc., etc. Well, now that means so much more. You know what I mean? You don't even really need the picture to go with it at that point. It's nice if you have it, but if you don't, you still get an idea of what's going on completely in context through the journal.
And the picture doesn't say that Ben caught 10 fish and you caught zero.
Hey, now that's yeah. I mean, we're gonna tear that scab open, are we, Ben? Hey, I've been out fishing this year and I've had success.
I caught two this year.
I've caught one. So you're still ahead of me.
And I wasn't even trying. I'm just out in my cabin, just casting into the lake, and I pulled out two
I was
without even
trying.
trying.
I was trying. I was walking a brook though, and I didn't even know if there was fishing. Anyway, we digress. So yeah, that's kind of the idea behind the journal. So yeah, why don't we kick right into some things are assured. So Gary's joining us here in the comments as well, and he says camp journals are still widely used in nearly all the camps he visits. Um, so yeah, it's still a fairly common practice. I know I've been to a couple of my buddies' camps, and even the old natural resources camps before I left them. They all had journals in them. Same kind of idea, maybe not quite as storytelling as maybe yours was there, Ben, or as personal, I should say. They were kind of just generic, you know, as you stopped in, what did you do, what were you there for, kind of deal. But still, it kind of gave you an idea of what was going on, if nothing else.
I've rented cabins that had them there, and I've read some of the entries. Hilarious. Some turned out to be not really family friendly. I've read ones in Kedgy Lake that would kind of blow your mind. Things that were said and done in there, and people talking about the great adventures, and people talking about getting lost. I mean, it's actually a really cool way to spend your evening when you're at a camp if there's a journal. And in Kedgy, a lot of them are in the bathroom. You'll see them hung on the wall.
Mm.
And in the cabins, they're just in the cabins on the table there. And everyone seems to write something in them. So it's really neat when you get there and you can see what other people's adventures were like and see when the last person was there. Sometimes it was like the night before, and other times you see that it doesn't look like anyone's been at that site for weeks. So that's a neat thing about like camp journals. Um, but let's get into the different types. I think the very first one we got up here is our basic bare budget one. Uh, this is basically a bulletproof method. If you lose one, you're not going to cry. They cost what? $3, $4?
227 is what they have them on this website for here. This is everything that we're going to be showing you guys is from Amazon, and it's a great method right now with everything going on. A lot of people are buying from there, so we figured we'd use that medium. And like I said, this is 227 with free 2-day shipping for Amazon Prime members. So I mean, how can you beat that? Sub $3 book, but I mean, these Hilroy notebooks, they're used in school, everything else, they're bulletproof. You know what I mean?
They're 200 pages. They're lined, so it's easy to keep your writing neat and tidy. Not necessarily the greatest if you're doing a lot of drawings and stuff, but really you can, and it won't hurt it. You can use a pencil or pen in them very well. So I gotta say it's a solid method, and if something happens to it, you really haven't lost that much except your memories that you had wrote into it up to that time. And if you do a lot of writing, you could easily fill out a few dozen of those and stack them up, and you really haven't invested a giant fortune in books. But in the end, it'll be worth a small fortune to you, I think. So a solid option. I definitely think it's a good way to go. Don't really knock it. So, what do we got up for our next option?
So the next one we have up here, let's just jump back over. What's going on here? Full browser. There we go. So the next one we have is kind of the next step up, and we do have these in order from least expensive to most expensive, if you will. So the next one up actually adds a real nice feature, and this is the Write in the Rain style notebook.
Yeah.
We're still sub $30. Nice high visibility yellow is the one we selected here. They do make them in other colors. They make a tan, a green, a black. This is still the 2-day free shipping for Prime members, but like I said, this adds a real nice element. I think you actually have one of these, don't you, Ben?
I do. I just don't know where it's to. I was trying to grab it. Mine is smaller. It's just like a little notepad. But yeah, these are great. Like it says, you can write in the rain in it. If it gets wet, it doesn't really hurt anything. They're waterproof, hence write in the rain. There is a proper pen that you can use in it that costs a bit more. I think the pen itself is almost $20, which does kind of put it out of the true budget. But I think you can also use pencils and regular pens in them. It's just if the ink isn't really waterproof, it's gonna not be quite as effective. But if you use that Hilroy notepad in the rain, you're going to have a pile of mush, really. If you've ever tried to write a damp page, even on a damp day, the pages will take to the moisture and it'll be softer, not as pleasant to write on. So yeah, the Write in the Rain, kind of just getting into a little bit better technology, newer stuff. Those are oftentimes available as add-ons to other orders. I've seen the smaller books anyways. They are Amazon add-ons. So the small notepads, if you wanted something for just quick jots and stuff, but you can get them the same size as the Hilroy.
And you can kind of see them just down there a little bit below. Listed below that one, you see the kind of little pocket pack there and the pen that's supposed to come with it. And I mean, if you just pull that pen up, the pen itself is $30 too. But I mean, you don't necessarily need that pen to write in that book. It's just the one that works best with it to get the full feel of that Write in the Rain. Like if you were literally in a torrential downpour, you could write in that book. But the paper itself still stays waterproof even without the pen. And I believe you could still use a pencil on that, couldn't you, Ben?
Yeah, I think I have in mine, and it worked fine. The first one I ever got, I think actually came with like an order I had. They threw it in as kind of a thank you for, I think it was my backpack or could have been a hammock, but I ordered something online and they threw it in as like a little bonus. Thank you for ordering from us. Here's a little 20-page notepad. So, but they are really good. The smaller ones you can stick in your front pocket, so you can write quick notes on the trail and stuff. Being waterproof, it's definitely an advantage. I do like them. I would highly recommend them. I don't have the bigger one, but it's always been one of those things I think I eventually will get and use more frequently. Uh, so yeah, so that's our second option. Really, all the advantages of the paper with the additional advantage of being waterproof. So
And I mean, they're really common not just for journals, as you were saying. I know we've used them in the fire department a little, and I'm sure they're very common in ground search and rescue. So don't think it's just you're going to find it in the journal side. They have a lot of other utilitarian purposes as well. It just happens to make a really good journal as well.
yeah. Now on the downside, I'm not sure how flammable those are. So if you ever need one to start fire, here's a little. If you have your notebook and all else comes is bad, you can always rip a page out and help get your fire started. So it's a little like
True. I don't know how well those write and rain pages would work, and I guess
no, but your standard Hilroy, that is a beautiful fire starter there. You know, I've often had to rip a page out of a book to get a fire going, unfortunately.
sometimes, I mean, if it's there and you have it, if it's there and you have it. But yeah, anyway, kind of going off from that. That was our sub 30. Now we're going to kind of go over 30 a little bit. The next one up, this one's a little nicer. It's going to get that rustic feel for some people. Um, and this is going to fit a little perfect niche. This is about in where I would want to come, personally, if I had to like a choice between all of these. And this is kind of the quality and feel I would want at the price point I would want. And I mean, that's the one you found here, Ben. That's the they just call it a subject notebook, but this is the genuine leather-bound travel journal and handmade antique diary, is what they label it as. But the benefit of this one is it is leather, and it's refillable. Is the other thing I noticed when I was looking at this after you showed it to me, Ben. So what's your thoughts on this one?
So these are beautiful, but I think just the aesthetics of it alone. So when you get one of these and you're holding them in your hand, now that's not what I have. I made mine. I went and bought a suede coat at the dollar store, and I have it in my hand here. And I went to the
I'll switch back.
suede
So
coat.
there you go.
Yeah, this here. So I went. It's twine, jute twine, a back cut out of an old suede jacket I got from Frenchie's. I think I paid like $8 for it. And I went to the dollar store and I bought these. And they're like a yellowish flat, just no lines or anything on it. And I filled it with that. If I ever want to replace it, I just cut the strings off of this one here and replace the twine. And I just use the leather as a jacket. But the whole feel of it, like the nice soft feel of the leather, it really kind of harkens you back to yesteryear, I guess. And it really does make it feel, it's there's a whole emotion to it, I guess. Having that more traditional, I guess is the word, style. So a leather bound book, and I think that book that you have up there on Amazon, it might even have some pouches to put like little cards or things you find and stuff. Like there's keepsake spots, I guess might be. So it has a few options. So those.
There. How's that look on your side there, Ben? Does that look like we can actually view and talk a little bit better?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So just if you scroll the different images there.
There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has a couple little note things in the front of it, as you said. Sorry, I kind of disappeared there. I was trying to set this up so we could talk about it as we were on it.
So we got a little pouch in this one here. We have the little latch to hold it over. Like I use the little button on mine and the jute twine. But yeah, this is really nice, and this would be a great gift for any bushcrafter in your life that you want it to give them something. If they have all the other gear, this is something they very well may not have. And So it is that thing that, not every bushcrafter has, but I think if they have one, they'd appreciate it and they'd use it. And it'll be unique to them because as soon as they start writing it in it is now a one of a kind. No one else has one just like it because no one else has theirs. Um, so yeah, like I said, a beautiful gift for anyone who's spending time in the woods. Um, Something you can take care of, and as you use it and it ages, it's just going to look better because it's going to sort of change a little bit. The leather's just going to take that stressed look to it. It'll get softer.
And I mean,
Yeah,
it's the perfect size too. It's not like going way back to the Hilroy at the start. One of the downfalls for me, although it's not really a downfall, it's just one of the things I wasn't looking for, was it's a full size, like 8.5 by 11. I think it was actually 8.5 by 11.5, or maybe it was 9.5 by 11 or 12 or something like that. Anyway, full sheet of paper. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
which is awesome. Lots of room to write, lots of paper to use, but I wanted something that would be a little bit more compact for me, and that's where this falls in. I mean, we're talking basically 6 inches tall by 4 inches wide, which is, it's just a nice, comfortable little journal that you could tuck in your bag. It's not going to take up a whole lot of room, and as you said, it's aesthetically pleasing. It's got that rustic feel. This is kind of the, I guess if you were looking bushcrafty, this is kind of where the level for most people will probably fall in, and you're going to get a great bang for your buck.
yeah, I agree. This is in a lot of ways the premium one. And since we're talking about this, I guess we might as well start mentioning the other one because there's not a lot more to say with this. The next level we have is kind of the techie level, much more so than our how do you put it, the Write in the Rain that has a little bit of technology. So this one is the Rocket Book, I believe it's called.
Yeah, and it comes as the Rocketbook Smart Reusable Notebook.
So this book comes with an app that you can put on your phone, and you fill the book out, and then you take a picture of each of the pages, and it basically saves it as a file. I think you may even be able to edit them and change them. You can store them. You can add things to them. So it gives you that digital ability. And then you just take a damp cloth and you can wipe all the pages clean. Uh, so
Yeah,
that
write,
allows you,
organize, scan, reuse.
yeah. So that's great. You only ever need the one book. So investment wise, you don't have to worry about filling it up. You can really share your adventure with people if you want other people to see what you did. When you get back, you can share that whole thing, especially say if you're a YouTuber and you do that's an add-on type thing. You can have a little site, you can put your little journals in there, people can go and check them out. And it's a neat little thing. It is more tech orientated. And there's different reasons to do it for sure. You'll always be able to, you can save it in multiple places and protect it, where the hard copy versions, you have the one copy. If anything ever happens to it, it's gone. Um, but yeah, I like it. I think I could see myself using that at times. Personally, haven't ever owned one, so I don't know how great they work. But I think they come with their own pen too, do they not? Similar to the Write Ring?
Yes, I think if you purchase this one, at least the one we have up here, let's see. I think it actually comes with the pen. Yeah, so it comes with the notebook and one pen and one microfiber cloth included.
Yeah,
But then, of course, you down here you can see you can actually pick up some extra pens for it, and
yeah. Friction or something, is it?
yeah, friction. I don't. They're erasable gel pens, so I guess if you got any of those erasable gel pens or dry markers, you'd probably fall into the same kind of deal to get rid of them. Now,
So
what?
a bit of the downside, though, is I guess if you use the incorrect pin on it, you could potentially damage it. I'm sure that it would affect the usefulness of it or the ability to clean it.
Well, yeah, I think that's the big thing is if you use the wrong pen, it's not going to wipe away. It's now a permanent notebook, and you just got yourself a hard copy. Which maybe for certain things, that's what you want to put in there. At least you have the option to do that. But as Ben said, the idea behind this is you write in it, you scan it, you save it, you wipe it clean, and you go again. Like it's an eco-friendly version for those that are looking to save a few trees, because it is reusable and it's more on the technology side. Comes in lots of colors. Like there's just black, red, orange, gray. I guess this is blue, teal, scarlet sky, which to me kind of looks like a maroonish color, and green. So there's lots of options here. Depending on the size you want, there's the executive, which falls into that 6 inch by 8, or sorry, it's 6 inches by 8.8 inches. Or you can get the letter, which is the full blown size. Again, they actually show them over here, and so it gives you lots of room. You can save a few trees. Price point is not that much more than the last one we looked, especially if you go for a comparable size. If you went for the executive, which is the smaller one, once again closer to the size of the other one, price point's right on there. You know what I mean? But you are kind of losing that leather feel, the rustic feel, the pencil on paper kind of feel. But you are kind of moving into that techie side of things, as Ben said, and you're going to save a few trees in the run. So I really do think this would be the next one that would fit that niche for the depending on the bushcrafter and who they were, if they want to keep their own works and maybe pass them down, as Ben mentioned at the first, or have them as their own chronological record or something like that. Or if you're more to the YouTuber side, as Ben said, and you just want to have some notes with each trip you put out, and then maybe you want to upload those notes to go with the video or something like that.
I guess if you really wanted to splurge, you could buy the leather-bound one and stick one of those inside of it.
Yeah, very much so. But now you're getting into like $60, and now you're just getting crazy, Ben. But no, it would 100% work.
If you look at some of the higher-end leather-bound ones, some of those sit around the $100 mark.
And that's very true.
So it's really what you want to spend in the end. But we've given you some good options, options that I think you could definitely consider. And again, it's a personal choice. Don't expect everyone to go out and grab the exact same thing that we grabbed. But what we wanted to do was give some people some options, some things they can think about and use, and make their own decision. The beauty of this whole concept is we will present, I think our plan right now is about once a month. So first week of every month, we are going to present a new gear item that you could be taking in the woods. And if you like it, buy one of them. It's really going to cost nothing to us. It has no benefit or loss to us. So we have no horse in this race. But
yeah, we're not going to be sponsored by these things. These are solely based opinions. So hopefully that means they're more truthful opinions too. We're not getting any kind of commission or anything on this.
But the nice thing that comes out of this is, rather than going out and paying, $50 a month and getting a surprise, which honestly I can really understand the thrill for it. But if you want to really budget your money and only get exactly what you want, this is a great option for people like that. Sort of more people like me who want to really control what they're getting now and get the things they want. So we're going to present different options, hopefully ones that you really like. If you buy these things and use them and like them, we'd love to hear about it. If you buy these things and really hate them, I'd love to hear what you hated about them, so we can we'll acknowledge it on the channel that some people bought these and this is what they felt. But it'll help us judge better what people are truly looking for.
And of course, if you ever have a suggestion on anything you'd like us to try and do this for, let us know. As we always say, you can always get a hold of us. I think, yep, you can see the everything down there. That's our Facebook page, our Twitter account, whatever the other one is, Instagram. And then if you go that way, I guess it is, you'll see the website address there. And I mean, you can get a hold of us on any of these mediums, and we do monitor them. None go unanswered. I don't think we've ever not answered anything that's ever been given to us. Or if we haven't known about it, and we apologize.
Very true. Yeah, we try to speak to everyone that's spoken to us, and I think all of our interactions so far have been pretty positive, so I really got to shout out to everyone about that. It's been very enjoyable dealing with everyone. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, what are we for time? This is probably the quickest show we've ever.
Yeah, we're at about 30 minutes. There was one last thing I want to throw out on this because we did have it up on there, and you were talking about kind of combining the leather with technology. You did pick one out there, which was the Right in the Rain Universal, which is just a variant of the Right in Rain, of course. But
Yeah.
it comes with a little bit more, a little bit higher price point. But now you're kind of getting that case it can sit in. It'll bundle it up, packs down a little nicer. It's coming with the pen now, of course. We kind of gave the ideas of what we thought would fall into the most realistic price points, but of course the sky's the limit. If money is no option, if you can dream it, you can get it. Of course.
You threw that up, and I have this here, and maybe we can quickly talk about this. So, as some of you guys will know, at one point in my life, many moons ago, I did spend some time in the military, and while I was in the military, we had these little field books, and that's what I have here. It had some slots in the front to put your pens, Velcro up the front. You could open it up, and literally you had a spot. I put this one together wrong because I am an idiot. But a little grid paper, and you could put things in. For us, I got a ton of notes in this here from different things, different shows and stuff we did, trips I've done apparently and forgot about. But it's neat. You can draw little maps if you want and stuff. And these all had rip out sheets, which was great. So something like that. I mean, a lot of people, like you mentioned, the fire department uses them, manuals and stuff. Search and rescue, a lot of members have notebooks and stuff, and that's great. The military does. I know the police do. Like anything police officer does, he generally writes little notes down.
I'm not leaving you. Just give me 1 sec.
But it's great if once you've recorded it, you have a record of what happened, and that's always very interesting in the future.
I guess it's not here, but I was going to say this is my fire department radio vest, and generally I keep mine right in there. Yeah. But apparently it's not there. So shame on me, I guess. But yeah, lots of uses for kind of a journal out in the woods. And I mean, something that we haven't talked about is, and it's what I did when we went out to the waterfalls first time. I actually did have a small notepad that I was kind of keeping notes in, and it was the designs on some of the traps and stuff we built. I sat the night before, I just kind of was like, I refreshed my memory and kind of drew it out. And that's something great too if you're in the woods and you're just trying to build something. Instead of taking all the effort to try and go through and just build it and go in blind, you can actually sit down and do some drawings in your journal about some ideas you want, make your notes, and that's an entry into your journal. You know what I mean? Did it work? Did it not work?
I find when I'm trying to explain stuff to people, oftentimes it's really good to draw something out that visual really helps. And honestly, a pen and paper vastly beats trying to scuff it into the dirt with your toe. You know what I mean?
Or the old, you made the pencil trick. Yeah, I was still amazed by that, just saying. If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, go back and look at some of our other previous entries around when we went out camping, and that'll be a running gag that's still funny.
Oh, it was funny. It was a good time.
But yeah, so there's lots of uses for a journal. Don't feel like it's just one of those things you got to go out and write about your day and your feelings and stuff like that. If you want to, perfect. If you don't, like, there's 100 uses for this thing, and you don't really realize the uses until you actually have it with you and start using it. It's one of those things, I think, that as you start using it, you'll find more and more and more reasons to use it and different uses for it that you never even thought of.
Yeah, it can be as little as coming up with an idea or recording setups you've done. If you're into tarp camping, just picture this. Every time you set up a tarp, you can set it up slightly different. If you have one that worked out exceptionally well, you can kind of draw it out so that when you want to do it again, you can say, okay, how did I do that last time? You can go back to that page and say, oh yeah, I hung it this sort of at an angle. I tied these corners out this way. You can sort of document what you've done and really go back then later and see how that worked and learn how to improve things.
You know what's in my notebook and why I remembered I had it? How to make an alder whistle. I took notes after you told me. That's what's in. That's actually what's in that little notebook. I gotta go dig it out of my kit bag now. It's how to make the alder whistle.
Yeah, so exactly. I mean, things like that, because that's all burned into my memory for the whistle. But there's a ton of stuff I've done over the years. Fishermen will oftentimes, like if they see a fly they really like, they'll kind of dry it out, or if they're out, they'll dry that sort of thing in, right? It's just a neat idea. It's always fun to sort of draw things out, write things out. And I think it really helps add to the experience and definitely I think that's the word I wanted really was add. It adds to the experience. It multiplies the experience to be so much better when you take the time to think about it and write it down and draw it out and do stuff with it. So some people might think, well, I don't really need it. It's not essential. It may be the best part of your trip is if you have something like that to go back in the future. Because I've often said, I wish I took more pictures, or I wish I'd done this, or I wish I'd done that, or can't even remember some of the stuff I did until years later someone tells me about it. I forgot all about that. If you wrote it down, you can go back and check and sort of refresh your memory. It's so much better.
And I mean, what better way to end the night if you're sleeping in your hammock or laying on your ground mat or whatever the case may be, and you're just trying to wind down to go to sleep? Pull out the journal and jot down your thoughts for the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the people that sort of put the journal idea in my head and why I made this one here is shout out to Jeremy. Jeremy started keeping one, I think. And he shared a little bit to me and Gary one time, like some of the stuff he's been writing and stuff. And I don't know if he ever did much with it. But he kind of brought it to my attention almost a year ago. And we may have mentioned field books a little bit about a year ago, but just sort of in passing. I don't think we've done a full episode on it like this time. But yeah, that's, you can write poetry if you want.
It's entirely up to you. It's a personal thing. You know what I mean? Whatever seems important to you at the time. It's a great way to pass time. It's a great way to get your thoughts out, especially if you're by yourself, is where I see this being really good. Because I don't know about you. Have you ever had an argument with yourself? I mean, don't lie. You have, haven't you? If you're trying to do something, you'll argue with yourself. Everybody does it. As crazy as it sounds, everybody does it. Internal dialogue or not. If you have some pen and paper, you can get your thoughts out and reread them sometimes, and it just makes more sense or less sense. You can either go, oh yeah, that's completely crazy, or oh, okay, yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
And I've been there quite a bit.
Writing things down really does help clarify your thoughts and makes it easier if you ever have to explain to other people. And sometimes when I write things down and other people read it, it makes absolutely no sense to them and a lot of sense to me. And I'm not sure if that means I'm crazy, but
there's a lot of things that mean you're crazy. That's just one in a big bucket of water. But we're all a little crazy, Ben. That's the beauty of this whole thing, is we can all be a little crazy in our own way, and a journal will allow you to be crazy in a way that you understand, and maybe nobody else will. But maybe someday your kids will pick it up, read it, and go, oh man, they were crazy as snot, but maybe it'll make them laugh. It'll be a memory, if nothing else. You know what I mean? Because once we're all gone, once we turn to dust in the wind or whatever, all we have left is what we have done on this existence. And if that happens to be our journals, maybe that's it. Maybe somebody will look at them and they'll take something from them, or maybe they'll just have a few chuckles. Either way, I'm good with that. Yeah,
me too. That's our thought. That's our first year review, or gear suggestion, I guess. We've listed, was it 4 things there?
Yeah, 4. We kind of threw in the bonus 5 just to show that there is basically no limits on this stuff. But I think we hit some good price points in there. We had everything right from literally budget, under $3, up to reasonable. I think we were in like the $30, $40, $50 range.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's good. And different gear will be in different ranges. We're not going to set that these will be the price ranges, because say we do hammocks at one point, I'm not probably ever going to suggest the $3 hammock.
No, no, but I think the cost analysis will come with the item, as Ben said. But what we will try to do is give an option to every level. We'll try and throw in a budget option, like if you are going to go budget, because some of us, realistically, that's how I started. I didn't have money to buy a lot of good stuff. I bought budget and bought better as I could. So we'll try and throw in a great budget option. We'll try and pick up something that's budget that's you're gonna get good value for, and I think that's gonna be the big key. Is try and keep everything at a price point where you're getting a good value for what you're paying, and not just wasting your money.
Yeah. And sometimes the budget is the way to go. If you're really unsure if you're going to like it or not, I see no problem buying the budget thing and trying it. And then if you really love it, like it was for me for hammocks, I think my first one I tried was literally looks like I'm getting blurry on my screen.
Yeah, I think your connection may be dumping down a little. I just checked mine and we're good. But anyway, we can still hear you.
It was literally a nylon tarp that I folded over and ran a rope through and slept in for a night. And it was horrible. But not so bad that I decided I didn't like it. And my next hammock was a bit more expensive. And then my next one after that was quite a bit more expensive. And since then, I've actually bought cheaper hammocks, all of which have advantages and disadvantages. But honestly, I think other than that first tarp hammock, I would use them all again and do.
And I'm very much the same. I mean, my first hammock, just on that to give people an idea, I thought was a budget hammock, was the Coleman one that I got set up out here in the studio now. I think it was 50, $60 when I bought it, and I thought that was budget at the time. I used it, it was great. And then I ended up buying a real budget hammock, which I think was $30 at the time, and I'm still using that one. And I have no problems with it. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody that's over my height, as we seen when we set ours up side by side, but for somebody like me, I mean, I'm a little heavier, I have no problems with it. I'm a little shorter, which just worked out good for that hammock. So, I mean, budget doesn't necessarily mean bad. It just means you're getting good value at a lower price point. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get a budget $120 item either. It just means you're getting a lot of good stuff for that $120.
So, from my end, it sounds like our sound's going a little funky. So I don't know if that's just me or if it's...
Sound-wise, we can still hear you really well. At least I can hear you really well. You still with us there, Gary? Are we still good? If not, I guess we're kind of closing this down anyway. We're kind of slightly digressing, so why don't we wrap it up and we'll call it a night for tonight. Is there anything else you want to say on the point there on field journals, Ben?
No, I think we've repeated a lot of it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you get out and enjoy, and we'd love to hear from you. And yeah, good night, everyone, and enjoy.
Have a good night, everybody. Like Ben said, we hope you enjoyed this episode of this, what are we calling it? The monthly Gear of the Month Club? Well, Gear of the Month episode.
Yeah.
And, yeah, look for us again at the start of next month, and hopefully we'll have something new and exciting for you, and lots of information and informative opinions. Have a good night, everybody.
Night all.